What's going on, Muscle Monsters? Alain Gonzalez here, and today I want to talk about three of the main benefits, in my opinion, of being a naturally skinny hard gainer. Now, yesterday I put up an article where I went over 7 benefits, which are all in pretty good detail, and if you want to read that, click the link below and you can check that out. But in this video, I'm just going to go over the top 3 from that list, all right? So first and foremost, let's talk about what a hard gainer really is, all right? Because most people will just say, oh, well, they're just lazy, they just don't eat enough, whatever. And the fact that you say they don't eat enough is true to a degree, right? If you're not gaining weight, you're not eating enough, plain and simple. However, this is due to a couple of reasons. Mainly, their NEAT, their non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This refers to the amount of calories that we burn from regular non-exercise activity. So, brushing your teeth, sitting down, standing up, tossing and turning in bed. And this makes our TDEE higher, right? So that means that we are expending more energy daily. And in order to reach a surplus, we need more energy daily, all right? So, the main thing that happens due to that, right, due to our energy expenditure being high, is that our energy needs now exceed our appetite, and thus it's hard to eat as much as we need to. Or maybe they're just very active in other sports and such, and that's also going to be a reason for having a high energy expenditure and needing to eat more. All right, but typically in naturally skinny hard gainers, it is due to a high TDEE that's caused by either high physical activity or their high NEAT, or both. Okay, now, so let's jump into the benefits. Okay, number 1 is you can take full advantage of the beginner phase. We know that the beginner phase is magical, right? We can build a great deal of muscle mass if we take full advantage of it. However, for a lot of people, they can't take full advantage of it because, for one, they either start off at a place where they are pretty overweight and their body is just not primed to be efficient at building lean muscle, and it's more primed to be more efficient at storing body fat. Now, because they are a beginner, they will be able to build muscle and burn fat, but they can't do either of those to the maximum per se, all right? Now let's take a hard gainer or a guy who's just naturally skinny. His focus is 100% to build muscle. All he has to worry about is eating enough and training and gaining size. All right, so he's gonna have a bit more of an advantage. Also, because his body fat percentage is lower, he's going to probably have the advantage of being more primed, his body being more primed to lay down new muscle mass and keep fat off. All right, which brings me to the second benefit. All right, when you start off leaner, you're more primed to put on muscle mass and you're less primed to put on fat. Now, when you are a bit more overweight, you're less primed to put on muscle and more primed to put on fat. And this is why I always recommend getting lean to a certain degree, maybe 10 to 12% before you start eating in a surplus and building muscle. Now, this is not for a beginner. Beginners can eat in a slight surplus, slight deficit, and still build muscle and burn fat. All right, this is for someone who's already been training for a while. But the hard gainer, due to this fact, can actually take more or have a more extended bulk. So he can be in a growth phase for a longer period of time before he reaches a body fat percentage to where he's now no longer efficient at building muscle and just has to cut. Somebody who stores fat a little bit more efficiently, even if they started at the same level of leanness, is also they're going to be able to build size, obviously, but they are going to get fat faster than the hard gainer, and thus they're going to have to cut that bulk short. Not necessarily short, but what most people would consider to be average. So maybe 4 to 6 months given the same surplus. So if this guy and this guy are both in the same surplus, but this guy has just got, average genetics, stores fat pretty normally, and this guy is just a naturally skinny guy who's resistant to building or putting on fat, this guy is going to be able to extend that bulk for a longer period of time. Maybe 8 months to 12 months even. And so the benefit there is pretty obvious. This guy is going to be able to stay in a phase where he's actually building muscle for longer. All right. Then on top of that, takes me to point number 3, we can eat a lot more, which is a great thing. It's tough to do when you're bulking, but now once you're done with your bulk and it's time to cut down, this is where the benefit is really visible, right? Because we're going to be able to get leaner on more calories and less cardio. And so, for example, one guy who has got average genetics, whatever, he might be able to, cut down to a certain degree, but by the time he's relatively lean, chances are his carbs are as well, or his cardio is pretty high, or both, low carbs and high cardio. With the Hardgainer, because he started so high up in terms of carbs, he's able to sacrifice carbs more frequently without getting to the point where he's starving himself, or his performance is being hindered from the low carb, or to the point where he has to do a massive amount of cardio. So that, in my opinion, is a huge benefit, especially when you get to that point where it's time to cut. You are going to be able to preserve muscle probably a little bit better because you can keep your calories higher, particularly your carbs. You can do less cardio, and we can just enjoy more food, which is always a good thing. So that's pretty much it, guys. Those are my top 3 benefits for being a naturally skinny Hardgainer. Embrace it, take advantage of it. This is not to say that being a Hardgainer is better than having what most people would consider average genetics, because I could make a benefit video just as long, if not longer, for those people. But the idea is that it's not the end of the world. There are benefits to it. Embrace it, take advantage of it, and just, use what you got. All right? I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.